It's like the hiker comes to this log cabin in the mountains, and it's bitter cold. So he knocks on the cabin door and he says, "Hey, I'm gonna freeze out here. Can you put me up?" And the old timer says, "Sure, come on in. It's just me and the dog." And so he comes in. He says, "I'll bet you're hungry too." He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I just got a pot of stew here. I'll give you some." So he puts out a plate, you know, and the hiker says, "Sir," he says, "this plate is awfully dirty." And he said, "Oh, that's as clean as a tide can get it." So I said, "Okay." So they served the dinner. He said, "You want some dessert?" He said, "Yay." So he puts out another plate for the dessert. And he says, "Boy, this looks pretty dirty." And he said, "That's as clean as tide can get it." So he has his pie and everything. When he's all finished, he said, "Boy, that's a nice dog. What's his name?" "Tide."
I was a little concerned about the stew and the dog, so at least it didn't go there.
Well,
In certain parts of Asia, it's a whole different punchline.
she got a bloody nose.
Are you alright?
Jerry,
But if were it not for the ball and chain that Dad had tied to my leg at all times, I could have gotten out of the shower.
well, and that collar with the electric shock, when you would, anytime you get into a green Oldsmobile,
Yeah, but don't you laugh.
but he's still
If I didn't trip on the stairs, if I didn't trip and break a toe on the stairs and caught you, you would never have lived in Cleveland.
Oh my God.
I never remember what you did though. I remember him chasing you, saying, "I'll kill
It
him."
was the camera,
You know what
right?
I did?
I'll kill
What
him.
did you
I
do?
used
He's
to,
getting
I
his
used to,
camera
when
wound
Dad
up
would
now.
say something, Jared did, I
That's
said, "No,
good
Dad, that was me," and then Dad would chase.
Oh,
me.
I see. I see.
But
I do
Fortunately.
remember something about the ice cream man. There was something about the ice cream
what was
man.
it?
Oh no, the
What?
the $20 bills. Yeah, I came home. We were living in North Canton, Ohio.
Wasn't the silver
And I came
dollars?
home, and when I came home from work, I had to wear a suit and a shirt and a tie and all. So when I came home, the first thing I did was change my clothes. Well, I used to take the money out of my pocket and put it on the dresser. And for some reason, I just happened to have several $20 bills at that particular time, which was very unusual.
Several? It was. You never had
And-
several $20 bills
Not
the
for
entire
long.
time. Why didn't you have those when we went on vacation together so we could
And
afford a hotel?
I changed my clothes, and Mother and I are sitting down and talking, and the ice cream man came by in his truck,
Little
with
trucks.
the bell, and the boys, the kids all ran out to buy ice cream, and the ice cream man came to the door, and he said, "Mrs. Collins," he said, "did you give your son $20? And she said, "Give him $20? Jerry or Bill, where'd you get the $20? He said, She said, Mother says, where'd you put your money, Warren? I said, "On the dresser." "Whoa, it's gone." So where's the other 20s? He threw those in the bushes.
Oh.
That was another time. If I could have caught him.
You know, I was back there last month, put $60 in my pocket.
Did you? And then there was the movie camera. I don't remember what it was about the movie camera.
Well,
Something about the movie
that
camera.
was-
I think you chased him about the movie camera.
When we lived in Jamestown, Colonel in the Marine Corps, he ended up as Chief of Staff at El Toro Marine Base. And I went out to his retirement, and they had a regiment pass in review, and Uncle George and several other high brass were standing out there, rigid Marines, like stone. And the regiments went by, and they all salute. They were all pie-eyed drunk until about 5 in the morning, and they're all still drunk, standing out there. If
they were standing
breathed, they
there.
would have the whole regiment would have collapsed if they breathed on them. They were so bad.
Oh,
Now, how did you know this?
Because I was there. Yeah, I was right there with them.
Dude, you weren't standing out there rock
As a
solid.
matter of fact, it was very funny, Vince. You'll appreciate this. My brother said, take my car and go do something or another and then come back in. And I said, well, how am I going to come back in on the Marine base? He said, well, there's an eagle on my car. He was a bird colonel, that's an eagle. So I drive, I'm a platoon sergeant from the Army. I drive in with this colonel thinking, Marine snaps to it and I give him up.
And drive right on.
That was fun, huh?
well, he was another character, your brother.
Huh?
Your brother was another character.
My brother, when Pat and I were first married, we were living in the Bronx. We had a walk-in apartment. And my brother would come to New York at 3 o'clock in the morning. He'd come pounding on the window. Bah, 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 I'm here, open up, open up. Then there was the time that he was flying. He was flying a jet night fighter. And so he had to do these triangulation flights around the country as part of his training or something. And so he called me up. We were living in Jamestown, New York. And he called me up and he said, I have this triangulation flight. I have to fly to Minneapolis, Niagara Air Station, I think St. Louis, and then back to El Toro. And he said, if you want to drive up to Niagara Falls, he said, I can stay there for a couple of days and come down to visit with you in Jamestown. And so George and I said, hey, this is great. So George and I jump in the car, we drive up to Niagara Falls. It's in the middle of winter. And we went up to the Naval Air Station and we went in the tower, up to the top of the tower, and told them we were waiting for this guy to come in. I think he was a Marine captain then. And so we're up in the tower and it's a big snowstorm. And they said, well, he's never going to land here, not in this weather. And then we hear on the radio, this is whatever his signal was, his sign, call sign. And they said, well, we have bad weather, you can't land here. And he said, well, we'll see how it is when I get there. So every once in a while you get a little clearing. So they said, well, we do get intermittent clearings. If you want to give it a try, but if we give you a wave off to Detroit. So we could hear this plane coming in, a jet. They were very noisy. And he said, okay, said Captain, we have an opening. And with that, way down at the end of the field, you could see this thing standing on its wing, this black thing, and making the turn like that. And then all of a sudden, zero visibility. He said, take it up, Cap. When you hear this scream, now let me back up a minute. When he left California, he had a refuel in Minneapolis. When they were refueling his plane, he went into the cafeteria to get a bite to eat, and there was a soldier there. And the soldier said to the cafeteria guy, he said, I understand that you can hitchhike on any planes. I'm going east to New York. And my brother said, hey, I'm flying to Niagara Falls. We'll be there in an hour. If you want to go with me, I got a jet. Wow, yeah. So he said, well, you go over and sign the necessary papers and so on, and I'll see you out there in half an hour. So he gets this kid out there. Well, the kid is going to sit in the radar man's position, which is down in the belly of this fighter, no visibility. He's down there in the hole of the plane, and George is sitting up on top of him. So they fly into New York, and they come in here, and here's this big storm, and he gets, he flies at it. And they say, Colonel, you're not going to make it. And he said, well, give it another try. So he said, all right. He said, but I don't know. Well, then there's an opening, and he said, okay, it's open. There again, you see this jet way out there. And he said, then all of a sudden, zero. Oh! He said, no, you gotta go. He said, Captain, I cannot give you permission to land here. And George said, one more try. He says, that's it, and then you gotta go. He said, okay. And it opened up, and oh, there's the plane way out there. Then it closed, and he said, take it up, but you didn't hear the screaming. And he said, where are you, Captain? Where are you? He said, I'm on the ground. He landed, taxied up, pulled up. George and I went down to the plane, he's taxiing up, and comes this kid. His duffel bag and he are covered with you know what. And my brother said, hey soldier, go in there, get cleaned up, we'll give you a ride into town. You know what that soldier told him?
You take me right into town.
I'll walk.
I
I
bet
wouldn't
you,
repeat it.
I was gonna say, you probably can't say that in these companies.
Oh, goodness.
Good
Oh,
story.
poor little
Yeah,
boy.
Uncle George was something. He loved our children. He idled. He'd